Spectrovision Radio. Spectrovision Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Modern Fairy Sightings Podcast, where we listen to people's fairy encounters. But take heed, we're not talking about winged Tinkerbells here. These are real fairies, real encounters that took people like you and I by surprise. Stay a while and hear their stories. My name is Jo Hickey Hall, and I'm a folklore researcher. Dear listener, I hope you are all doing well out there. I know it is hard to stay well with everything that's taking place, but one thing that really shines out above all else is the kindness and strength of cooperation in community. It has been really beautiful and humbling to witness, and I feel it shows us that there is strengthening hope that we can move through this period of time and emerge into a new way of being. That new way is already being birthed and is here. There are groups gathering all over the world in solidarity with one another, based on love and mutual values of peace and consideration for the earth and each other. And I join you all in praying for this aspect of humanity to expand so that we remember we are all divine beings and see each other as so. This episode is part 2 of my chat with Faun. There is so much noise in the world at the moment, and I found my conversation with Faun to be soothing and healing for me. It felt like a yin conversation. There is space, not as much chasing down in the conversation as kind of more like a gentle opening to my fellow beings' experience. And in the first episode, we discussed their experience at the crossroads. And this time, we hear about their evolving relationship with water and how they felt called to work with it. Water is an archetype, of course, and many of us find we are called to water, to be healed in some intuitive way. We also discuss Faun's meeting a Völva, which is an Icelandic Seeress. Also, Faun's witnessing a guardian of the land and seeing their own fetch or double of themselves. As always, we welcome you to join us in our warm community on Patreon, where this month we experienced a guided visualization of one's own death. For those of us that attended, it was one of the most profound meditative experiences we'd ever had. We noticed how we felt changed in the days afterwards. Huge thanks to our member, Dr. Helen Stickney, for holding us through the session. This recording is available for members on Patreon. And this month our Patreon Zoom meeting will be with previous guest T.I. Shippers from episode 109, Meeting a Forest Gatekeeper. Also this week begins the Totem Animal Qigong with Todd Grube. This is an exclusive 6-week course for the group. Todd will introduce us to Qigong moves which tap into the healing energy of bear, eagle, deer, dragon and phoenix. Todd is also running an online tea meditation ceremony for us on Saturday 21st of February, so contact me at scarletofthefae@gmail.com. That's 2 T's and Fae, F-A-E, if you want to join. That session is open to non-members too. If you would like to support, but you don't feel able to join us in Patreon at the moment, there are some really cool t-shirts available on Teemill, and I will put these in the notes as well. I absolutely love these t-shirts, and I hope to release more designs as we get into the year. At the moment, I am concentrating on finishing my book, which is why the episodes are a little more spaced out than usual, but the community is active and strong, and that's kind of where I am when I'm not writing. So it's a lovely, friendly place, and I feel very grateful for the space that we have there with one another. It's always supportive and kind. I hope you enjoy this gentle, spacious chat. The full-length episode, which is the video version, is also available on Patreon. As humanity works to heal our shadow, we feel the essence of the divine surrounding us and supporting us through this time. Stay well, each of you, and connected with one another, and always remain curious. Time to So here we are again. We met just last week. You were considering whether or not you wanted to talk about something.
So since last week, I've been thinking, and I think what I wasn't sure that I wanted to talk about or not last time. I think it makes more sense to view it in a bigger perspective. Because one thing that's been very big for me right now is that I feel like I'm going through cycles very similar to what I've been through before. Only I'm able to make sense of them in a different way. So part of that is that during this time 10 years ago that I told you about, I told you some of the backstory about the huge changes in my life, and the thing that I sort of think is happening at the end, or as the culmination of this, is when I lost my mum. So in a way, some of the things that were happening were leading up to that. But there was also a huge spiritual awakening going on. And so the thing that kept happening was that I would be called to go places. I would get this full body craving, and I would just have to go out to the woods, or I would have to go sit under this tree. And sometimes it could be vague, and sometimes it could be super specific, like you need to go see some birches. And the thing that kept coming to me when I tried to discover how to move forward was that you need to let go. And I couldn't quite figure out how to do that, what to do with that information. Because I felt kind of rigid in my body, I guess. So that was a big thing I was fighting with. I had lots of experiences during this time. I went to the woods to see the birches, and I saw a spirit that I think was a guardian of that place. So it felt like, things were happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was this, I kept coming back to the feeling that, and then what? What do I do with this? I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the backstory. And we can go into details about that later if you want to. And then this time around, during the pilgrimage, I kept getting messages that were so clear to me. I would get communication in ways that I think I have experienced them in the past, but I haven't quite been able to make sense of what's happening. So one thing that I get is that snippets of songs can come into my head, and they will be extremely relevant to what's going on. So it could be things like, you need to take your shoes off here, or this tree wants an offering. And suddenly I really got what was happening. And so that was the thing that was leading me around to all the places that I went. I just knew where to go. And I think some backstory for before I talk about the White Spring thing is that when I was quite young, I had a near drowning incident where I was swimming with a friend in a lake, and I got stuck in a pool toy that got flipped over. And I don't really know exactly how close to death I was, but it was very dramatic. And that has shaped my relationship to water. I've always been obsessed with it. But since then, I've also been very fearful of it. So I keep having these thoughts or feelings that, oh, maybe the water will suddenly not hold me and suddenly I will just sink. So that's there at the back. And so when we went to the White Spring, I knew before we went, I knew that I wanted to go in. It felt very important to me. And
This
when
is
I was
sorry. This is the White Spring in Glastonbury.
in Glastonbury, yes, where we went during the meetup, where I got to meet some of the group. And well, we came there during Quiet Hour, and that was really beautiful. It was a very good time to come in. And I had been meditating for a while, and then I knew that okay, this is time. And so I went to the place where people can get undressed. And when we came in, there had been people in the pool, but when I got there, there wasn't really anybody. And you know what it's like taking your clothes off in public. It's if you see somebody else doing it, it's fine. You know that okay, the rules here are open for that. So I knew that it was, but at the same time, I felt pretty strange about it. And on top of that, I have when I'm undressed, I have an obviously trans body, and that's complicated. So I was standing there and I was hesitating, and then I see this child running in the shallow pool, completely naked, with golden hair just shining in the dark. And I just know that that's what I'm supposed to be. So I went up, I took my clothes off, and then I had to stand and wait for a while because somebody was blessing their tools. But I felt unself-conscious. And then I started stepping down into the pool and not knowing how deep it was, or how many steps I would have to take. And I think the water was about shoulder height, and I took my glasses off and took the final step. And it felt like a trust fall, and like I was just letting go completely and trusting the water to carry me and trusting that whatever needed to happen would happen. And it's difficult to convey how important that is in words, but it was very big. And after I got dressed, I went back to the shrine, to the fairy king, and I was sitting there, looking at it, and I see the children are still playing in the shallow pool, and I get this picture of children playing naked in a cave by firelight, it's thousands of years ago, and how ancient that is. And I get this message that this is what you are to us. You're our child. And that was just the most beautiful thing that I could have heard at that moment.
Mm.
And I'm, still working on exactly what that means, but I have the sense of it.
It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What a moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's I feel like however I describe it, I can't really do it justice, but yeah, that was big. So this complete understanding of the letting go has really, really helped me move forward in my practice since then. I feel like I'm doing things that are very similar to what I've always been doing, but I'm doing them with a new understanding. And after I came home, I had this feeling that I wanted to work more with other people. And I've been looking for a suitable group forever, but it's not very hard. It's not very easy to find people. And then I went into the neighboring town, and I see these posters in several windows saying there's a witch festival coming up. So of course I knew that I needed to go there. And at the festival, in the evening, they held a seder where they had taken this tiny room, and a woman there was a Völva who prophesied for people, and she had several helpers. And I felt that this is something that I want to help me figure out what I've brought back with me.
Mm.
And so I stood in line for the longest time, and when there were maybe 4 people ahead of me, they started taking more and more breaks because they were getting so tired. So I was really hoping that I would get in, and I did. And I knelt in front of this Völva in this tiny space, put my hands in hers, and she asked me if I was scared or nervous, I think she said. And I was, but at the same time, I wasn't, but I couldn't stop shaking. And so I asked her about this feeling that I think I told you about in our first talk, that I brought with me from this night walk at the early part of the pilgrimage, where it was like I was filled up with something.
Mm.
And I asked her for advice on what to do with that, because it feels important. And I was expecting this kind of vague oracle that I would have to puzzle over for weeks. And she gives me the clearest advice. She says, there's a seed that's taken root in you, and what do we do with seeds? We water them. You have to put your feet in water And you have to walk barefoot in streams and lakes and different types of water, and you have to write. And only days before I had gone and bought a foot bath, so it was like I knew. So it was an amazing confirmation of my intuition. And she also said that it's going to be very important with repetition. Maybe nothing will happen in the beginning, but it's important that you keep going and just do it. So that's been a big part of my practice the past few weeks, months. And I can't remember if I said this, but I had been thinking that I wanted to bathe in the river down here. And I had been hesitating, partly because it was getting colder, and partly because of this my feelings about water. And I didn't quite have time to pick up the courage before it was too cold, really. But I've started bringing home water from the river and adding to this foot bath to get this connection with her. So that's something like it's still quite subtle, but I can really feel things happening all the time through this practice. And I'm very excited to see where it will lead.
Yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. And I love that you're so kind of tuned in to your body, to your sense of direction with this. It feels really nice and clear. And yeah, I love the sound. What did you call this woman?
Yeah, she was a Völva, and that's a Icelandic or Old Norse word for a seeress.
Okay.
So being in Sweden, that type of practice is quite popular in some groups at least. And it's something that I've been very curious about. I'm interested in the Old Norse magic and finding the ecstatic practices that were done here.
Yeah. It's great that she was so, as you say, straight with you about what it is that, what you need to do. And is there any way that does she run a group maybe that you could get involved in?
I think she's in a group, but I think it's women only.
Okay.
And I don't quite know where they are based, but I know that the people that organize this festival, they are going to start a group in this neighboring town, probably this spring.
Right.
The festival happened quite suddenly for them, so they were a bit overwhelmed.
Right.
But yeah, so that's going to happen.
Well, that's helpful, and even to reach out to this woman and ask for some direction there, if they know of any groups. But that's how these things happen, isn't it? I really I resonate with the messages about the the snippets of song lines and the very clear instruction to remove shoes, to go in this direction. It's once you open up to this way of being, it is just a way of life. It's just like that. And I know that lots of people that are watching this will know exactly what you're talking about. It's the kind of flow of life has it has a certain presence, so that when you hear, okay, remove those shoes, you recognize it as an instruction. and you can trust when you're being told to, go this direction or don't go that direction, or whatever the message is. That's really amazing that you've got this strong link and you're able to trust it most of all.
Yeah, I feel the trust is so important. That's what opens up everything to take it deeper.
Yeah, I know, because it's kind of wary steps at first when you start working in this way. And you're questioning yourself, am I just making this up? But the proof is in the pudding, because when you do go in these directions, there's more that opens up and more that opens up, and then you can kind of get into a groove with that. It's just so important at this time in the world as well, when there is just so much going on, and I'm noticing how many people are affected by all this continual, difficulty in the external world, and contrastingly, when we take that time just to, do the foot bath, the idea of placing the water in there is brilliant. Even if somebody's been to the White Spring or something like that, and you can get the little bottle, you can fill up your bottle of water, even just like a drop or two of that, because it's symbolic, it aids it, the presence is there. When you start to kind of have that as your practice, it really is a place that you can retreat to from what's happening, in the external world, because it's very hard. So yeah, these are all things that will stand you in good stead and be some supportive resource for you and showing you these paths. I'm really, really pleased to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it's because, as you say, it's both a way of just taking some time for yourself, and on that level, it's amazing, and on a magical level, it's just this clear connection. I I speak a lot about my dreams when I talk about things like this, but I had a funny message dream at one point that was about water and the other world, where I was told very clearly that sometimes there's so we know about the connection between places where there's a lot of activity and there's often water nearby. And in this dream, I was told that, well, sometimes there's no water, but there's water on the other side. So it doesn't have to be on this side. I found that, I don't know, funny, but interesting. But it also shows that just having this, the water is a type of a way of communication, I want to say, and a way of entering the other world. That's a big thing in the Norse myths, that traveling through water to reach another space. Something that I have been working with and want to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. Same as the Celtic, folklore as well. People going through the surface of the water, through into other realms, and what exists beneath. Very much so. It's magical, very powerful places near the water. It's interesting about the idea of it's there on the other side. I've often wondered if how afterwards, and I know people haven't really spoken about this in sort of near-death experiences, you tend to hear more about beautiful gardens and these, incredibly beautiful backdrops like mountains and gardens and things like this. And I've often wondered if there's an aspect to the process that involves water. I had a very powerful dream one time, not long after my dad passed away, where I saw him sort of floating down what looked like sort of canal. It looked like kind of canal tracks. So I could see him sort of very peacefully moving along. But it was as if there was some kind of sort of function to this, as if he were in process somewhere through the water. It was really amazing. I think about it quite a lot. And I don't know what it means, but I've been thinking about it a little more lately. And so it's interesting when you said that, that's what I immediately thought about. Don't know if anyone's ever kind of had a similar vision of that. I'd be interested to hear if they did.
Yeah.
I find it intriguing.
Oh yeah, definitely. That image makes me think of the Greek myths, where you have to cross the river to get to the other side.
Yeah. And the ferryman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was almost like it almost looked quite modern, like a series of kind of I'm calling them canals, but they were only as wide as, a little wider than a human body kind of thing. And almost as if they were kind of moving through the landscape. I think there's a scene in the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where there are these sorts of trackways in the kind of the water. Or the fluid, whatever it is. I can't even remember what it's made of now. Something weird and wonderful in that film. But somehow it reminded me of that, of this kind of something being processed and moving through the water. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So with this kind of as a means of practice, how do you feel, your life has changed in terms of your own development, in terms of your relationship with these worlds and how you relate to the external world now and all the kind of anxieties that come with that, especially in this time that we're moving through? Do you feel, lots of people talk about, don't place the attention on this old world that is crumbling, but more kind of look towards the new. And do you feel that in doing all of this, you somehow stepped through into the new, or is that still a process?
I'm not sure that there is the old new split for me at this time. A lot of what I do is so very land-based. So it's very much about connecting to here, and forming deeper relationships with the spirits of the land, and reaching back. So I forgot about this. When I just came back home, I can't remember how it came to me, but I received instructions that it said that I needed to reawaken the land and awaken myself to the land. So it's part of it's, I think that the process that I'm working through most, like the biggest part of it right now is about reawakening myself to the land so that in turn I can work on the awakening of the land itself. And that is still a bit of it's still a bit of a mystery in some ways. I mean, I know intuitively what it means. And I think, I think that many of the places around here haven't been spoken to in a long time, and that they used to be. And so I think that in some ways the land can, I'm not sure if forget is the right word, but it's not used to humans interacting with it on a direct level. Mm. And so sometimes when I go to sacred sites of in the UK, for instance, it's very clear that there are people there all the time talking to the land. And there's a different or faster type of connection to be made there. In the places that I walk here, it's slower. It's more like, oh, so there's a little person here who wants to talk. What do we do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
So they're saying that to you. There's
Mm.
somebody here, right? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. You mentioned meeting a spirit of the place when you went to the birches. How did
Yeah.
that come about?
That so this was one of the times when I got this really strong urge to go out. And this time I knew that I needed to see birches. And they are quite common further up the country, but they're not the most common tree here. So I wasn't quite sure where to go. But I knew that there's a big-ish forest that was accessible by bus. I think I must have taken the bus. That I used to spend time in as a child, but I hadn't been there for a long, long time. And I went there and I walked in a way that I still do when I get there. I don't look at any of the maps. I don't really pay attention to where I go. It's like I walk to deliberately get a bit lost. Um, and I think I was there for quite some time. And then I'm in this part of the woods where there's just birches everywhere. And I didn't know that I would find that. I was hoping, but yeah. And I can't remember if this happens. I'm not clear on the order. But I think that the first thing that I did was that I went into these birches and I found a flat stone and I sat down and meditated. And this thing happened that happens sometimes where it's like I can see the world around me through my closed eyes. But the place I saw, everything was in the same place, but it was all pink. It was beautiful and very strange. And after I was done, I was leaving the place, and behind me on the road, I spot someone, and the way I remember him is the way that I usually see spirits when I see them. So they're sort of a little bit translucent. It's very clear that it's not a physical person, but he was a lot clearer than they usually are. I usually see a shadow or a shape. But this was a man with a very long beard, I think. And when I picture him now, he's carrying a walking staff, and I think he's wearing a hat, and the colors of the wood. It's all browns and greens. And he's looking at me, curious. And I got the strong sense that he was the guardian of this space. Just looking to figure out what I was about.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, really interesting. The to have this kind of archetypal sort of wise old man. And I was thinking about the connection you had with the land and about mother, because the land is our mother, our planet, and that maybe also mending something there for you in terms of your relationship with the earth, with mother, which is a really beautiful opportunity.
Yeah, this was before she passed. It was in the late summer the year before. So, but I do feel that at that time I got sort of, so it's difficult to separate things because there was so much going on, but I do believe that there was some kind of warning coming to me, not this experience, but other things that happened. So when I was working at the time in a kitchen, and sometimes I would have to go outside to leave some things in another house. And the way I remember it, every time I was there, it was like I could see this shadow moving up the road coming towards me, of something is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of things
Yeah.
kept happening. Yeah.
What kind of presence did that hold, the shadow?
That felt, well, it felt very dark and it felt threatening. But also in a way where I was wondering if that was my interpretation, just because of the darkness of it, like the visual darkness of it. I think this was happening after my crossroads experience. So some part of me was wondering if this is this the same thing as the being I met there. But I couldn't quite make sense of it, and it didn't really get any clearer.
Yeah, no, I think you can trust those, those feelings when they come about something. We see or feel something dark, or perhaps even trickster-like, or however it, arrives. And I think we do recognize when something's up.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? I think we can trust those times when that happens. But obviously, it's understandable that we then sort of talk ourselves out of it or question our real sense of it.
Yeah. And it's hard to know what to do with it, even if you recognize the warning, because as a warning, it's still very vague.
Yeah.
I know that during the same time, I saw myself one day, just sitting across the table from me. wearing the same thing I was wearing. It was like there was a mirror put in front of me. And in I don't know how this compares exactly to other folklores, but in Scandinavia at least, seeing a double usually means that somebody's going to die. And traditionally, it's the person who you see who's going to die, but it still felt eerie seeing that. And also in hindsight, feels like it might be connected.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. These doubles or fetches, they do come up occasionally. But to see yourself is that's quite something. I mean, that's really powerful. I'm trying to think of another example that I've heard of that, and I can't think of one right now. Yeah, that is something else altogether, isn't it? And I suppose, an aspect of us leaves us at these really shaking times. Like, losing a mother is huge.
Yeah.
And also you're going through a process yourself in shifting in your own life.
Exactly.
Which could also be relevant there. That's really interesting. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think this is I've only really come to that conclusion in hindsight, like I said with the double, because when I was younger, I used to think that the omen part of it wasn't, I mean, that was not as big as people made it out to be in the folklore.
Right.
Because as a child in my grandmother's house, that was something that would happen quite frequently. I would see my grandmother, who is still alive, and I would see her in places where she wasn't. So I would always see her sitting in the kitchen doing her crosswords, but she would really be out in the garden. And so that was quite clear that this isn't a negative omen, but it was like she had left some imprints there. Yeah.
Right. Love that. Did you ever tell her?
I can't remember. I think I must have. But I can't remember a conversation about it.
Maybe you could ask her. It's your chance.
Yeah.
There might be, have you ever spoken to her about these kinds of things? Because I'm just, is this your mother's mother?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have spoken a bit, and I have. Last time we talked about it, I tried to ask her about the house and if she had any experiences there, because that was a very potent place for me, um, in positive and negative ways. But she said that she couldn't really remember anything other than she said that it took a while for the house to accept her. So she had to prove herself, to prove that she would take care of this place. And then they were allies. There was that, and apparently I have forgotten this, but there used to be I can't remember the word she used, but like a knocking sound sometimes when we were sitting in the kitchen. And she would say, "Oh, that's him coming home," meaning the man who lived there previously.
Oh,
She's very open to these kinds of things.
great. And I guess in the same space as you saw her sitting when she was meant to be
Yeah.
outside. Thank you so much. It's been
Thank you.
really, really lovely to speak to you about this. And I can see that it's an ongoing process too. So it'd be great to hear, how things develop.
Mm.
Are you thinking of maybe writing something?
Yeah, I mean, I at the moment I most of my writing is sort of journaling, but I'm thinking this is also based on what I heard from the Völva. She said that in the beginning, about the writing, in the beginning it will be for you, it will help you, but in the future it may be something that could help others.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's coming, and I don't know I don't know what shape it's going to take. But I feel good about just letting it unfold and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I have that. I have a very similar feeling about it,
Mm,
that this is going to be something that can help others too. And you're already doing that by talking about it here as well. So I thank you very much for sharing these
thank you.
experiences. It's been really an honor to hear those. Yeah, and speak with you. And it was so nice to meet you earlier in the year. And I hope we
It
get a
was
chance to
lovely.
do that again. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's always great to talk to you.
thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thanks. You've also inspired me to get in that white spring because I still haven't done that yet. I need to
Oh, you have
do
to.
that. Every time I've been there, I've been with, we still haven't had time or been with family or
Mm,
something. So now I'm going to get in it.
yeah.
Thanks so much for listening and watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider joining us on Patreon for dozens more episodes of unreleased bonus content, monthly online events, and a private chat. We are a warm, supportive community and it really helps to support the project. Find us on patreon.com/the Modern Fairy Sightings Podcast.